Oh, real quick, guys, this episode of Written By is brought to you by StoryFlint. Are you looking to hone your writing skills and elevate your storytelling abilities above the rest? Well, look no further than StoryFlint.
Whoa.
Our growing library includes a wide range of resources, including guides, articles, and curated tools and videos to help writers of all levels improve their craft.
Now that all sounds really cool, but what really sets StoryFlint apart is their exclusive Notion templates. Now these templates are tailor-made for writers and world builders to provide an easy and intuitive way to organize your story elements.
Oh, heck yeah.
So whether you're an aspiring author or a seasoned vet, StoryFlint is the perfect resource to help you grow your skills and take your storytelling to new heights.
Your one-stop shop for learning the art of storytelling is here. Visit storyflint.com.
I'm Robert Therrell.
And I'm Chase Bridges.
We're both screenwriters.
Listen along each week as we
Either work together to write a new short film,
or go head-to-head with competing movie pitches.
this is
Written By. Welcome to our Trouble Date BTS podcast.
Yeah, basically we just put out our short film, Trouble Date, which is based on episode 2 of this podcast. This is the first short film that originated on the podcast that we have adapted, produced, and made an actual short film that you can watch. It's on our YouTube channel. But we a while ago, after we finished the final cut for the film, we recorded us talking about kind of the writing process and how we took what was an episode of the podcast and turned it into a whole short film, how the short film shoot was. And then after that, we recorded the two of us talking with our two lead cast members, Matthew Quattlebaum and Abby Gilbert. Yeah, we talk a little bit about...
And just talk about shooting the short film. We're just super excited for you guys to hear it. And...
yeah, enjoy. If you have not seen the short film, you'll want to watch it before you listen to this. So there's a link in the description. But yeah, enjoy our Trouble Date BTS. And welcome to this special episode of Written By. This is the behind the scenes episode for our new short film, Trouble Date, which is out now.
Yeah, guys, go. You guys were a part of this journey just as much as we were. I mean, you didn't do as much work as we did, but...
Yes, this short film, this is based on an episode we did, episode 2 of this podcast.
Okay, all right. I have drawn a double date. So,
Double Date.
a short film about a double date.
This should be riveting.
I think what's so crazy is episode 2.
Yeah.
So it's like when we started the podcast, we started this with the hope of one, like this will help us become better writers. But also now we have 2 seasons full of short film ideas that we could potentially create. And the fact that one of the first ever episodes that we did for Written By is now an actual short film makes me feel like we've accomplished a Written By task.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah. It feels like the idea has finally come full circle.
Yeah, that was fun. I feel like this one would be really fun to do.
Dude, yeah, I think we should write it.
I thought it'd be interesting because a lot of people, they come on here every week or every other week. We draw from the bowl.
Yeah.
We have an hour to outline a short film. And that's kind of where the episode ends. But there's a whole lot more work just for screenwriting, and then also like the totality of making a film that you don't quite get to hear in the podcast because we can't make a film every week. So
Right.
So what happens when the mics go off and we're like, okay, it's time to make this a short?
So I guess we can talk specifically about episode 2.
Yep.
We finished recording that one, and I think we both were like, that's a really good...
Yeah.
To be quite honest, like I felt like we had peaked really early because everyone I talked to who listened to Written By, the entire first season, their favorite episode was Double Date, the second episode.
Yeah. Oh, have you listened back to it recently?
I haven't.
Because I've been cutting promo stuff. First of all, it's crazy how much higher quality the audio is now. That
Yeah.
I specifically remember that day. my condenser mic wasn't working, so I was using a shotgun mic, and so anytime I like turned my head slightly,
couldn't
the
hear.
audio would mess up.
That's a big reason I haven't gone back to listen to it, because I kind of cringe at the audio quality. But you got to work with what you've got, and I think it's really cool that we've grown so much.
Yeah, it's
But-
also crazy though how many ideas there were that didn't end up in the final thing or ended up in the final outline, but we took out of the main story for whatever reason. Like looking back on it, I don't know if you remember, but Joy and Craig, they were on Ozzy Osbourne's van doing coke at one point.
Oh yeah,
Joy or Donnie worked at a energy drink company called Kaboom or Kaboom
instead
or
of
something.
Bang.
Yeah.
Because we've had this running Ozzy Osbourne joke. What if as they're pulling away, they see Ozzy Osbourne like stranded on the side of the road, and he's like, "Yo, Craig!" Work like for the marketing company for an energy drink.
This universe's version of Bang without saying Bang.
Exactly what I was thinking was Bang. Pow!
Pow. That's great. That's great.
Pow energy.
And she was hyped on that the whole night. Just ideas like that.
And I guess that's stuff that in a writer's room, I don't know, I've never been in a writer's room, but Written By kind of is our own little writer's room. That's the kind of stuff that gets you to the idea. So when the episode ends, we're both like, that's really good. And my friends, and I'm sure your friends that listen to Written By that heard that episode were like, oh, that's the one. Like, that's the one to make. We started working on what that would look like as a script. If I remember correctly, I think I started going through the outline and just kind of typing the story. And is this the one where I was just like, I'm stuck, man, and I just sent you my draft?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, yeah. We do this a lot.
Yeah. Basically, if I remember, you just kind of, what was in the outline segment, you just put like just that. You didn't really add any other sauce or anything. It's just like, okay, we have the skeleton, we have the scaffolding, we have something to work off of.
We open Craig and April sitting at the restaurant table. Craig's like, oh, why do we have to be here? I was supposed to Twitch stream tonight. I want to watch a movie. And April's like, hey, I know this dude from work and we're trying to, try something new.
There was like basic dialogue to get through this story. Yeah.
I remember the biggest deal with adapting this is I wanted there to be a little bit of a surprise. So even if you heard the podcast episode, there was something new and interesting.
Yeah.
But like also the biggest change we had to make was when Donnie and Joy first show up and they're like, wait, that's your ex-wife? It was originally Craig had just not told April
that he had been married before. Yeah.
But then like looking into like shooting it for real, it felt a little unrealistic.
That would happen.
Yeah.
I don't like talking about it. And then I think it would be
Also,
really...
that's gotta be a big deal for their relationship. If they've been in a relationship enough to like need to spice things up, but she doesn't know that he was married.
And so how we mitigated it was, oh, she used to be a goth, and that's why nobody recognized her before.
Well, when I read, so Robert sent me back another draft, and I read, she looks a lot different now that she's out of her cyberpunk emo goth phase. And I just thought that was a really funny, like, throwaway line. But then as we get farther in production, Robert's like, actually, I think it would be better if we actually cut to these these flashbacks. Because that was a thing that I really didn't have any part of. Like, that wasn't in the script, I don't think, right? The cyberpunk parts?
I put in the script that there was like a flash or two of it, but of course that's also how the story transforms, not just writing it, but also the shooting and editing phase. When we shot those parts, the makeup was just like eons better than what I was expecting. Our makeup person, Diana, just did a really great job of like being really creative and making these people feel real. And it also looked a lot scarier than I had pictured, even though they were goth people. I don't know what I was picturing, but they looked different. They looked scary. And so that inspired us in the editing to be like, what if we treat certain sequences like a horror film, where it's almost like they're like the ghosts of Craig's past that are haunting our main character.
Again, this was a Robert thing. Like I think after we wrapped up that second day when we were shooting all the cyberpunk cutaways, Robert was like, me and Robert were talking about it, and I was like, where is this going to go? And you were like, I think it would be really cool to like change the whole pacing by kind of adding these like horror elements almost. And then when you watch the first cut with it, you're like, how did you think of this? How did this? She looks a lot different now that she's out of her cyberpunk emo goth phase. A throwaway line become this thing that changed the whole tone and pacing of the whole short.
You're boring each other to death. You need some excitement in your life. And McDonald is the name for the job.
Okay, no.
Our first film, we were trying to make a horror rom-com, and this one almost feels like
More
of that than...
Yeah. Going back to the writing phase, right? So the podcast comes out, people like the story. It's the first character-driven thing that we had really done.
Yeah.
Dialogue heavy. So we write a few drafts back and forth of what the script is going to look like. And then we go into, I think the first thing we did was like, well, I guess we got to figure out a cast.
Yeah.
Which was the most difficult part of this process, I think.
Yeah. It was that this was the most like actors we had to get in one place at once, and the scheduling is always such a big thing to overcome. But yeah, we really lucked out that Matthew was available. He was cast like maybe 2 weeks before we were shooting.
And I think the thing that's like really crazy to think about is it's a different short film depending on who's cast. Yeah. The person that we had originally cast who had to drop out, that character would have been completely different than the character that Matthew played.
Yeah. So much of it is dependent on just actors playing off each other. And like you change one element of that, the whole thing is different.
In the original episode, we wrote Joy to be like this crazy Southern Belle character. And then we cast Kara, who brought a different element to it. So much, if you listen to the first episode and you watch the short film, I think the most fascinating and interesting part to me personally, and I would assume to a lot of people, is like listening to us come up with ideas, throwing stuff around. We write a little outline at the end of the episode and then watch what happens in the final product. And it's like, they're obviously the same, but they're like night and day different.
Yeah. You, in our back and forth getting the script finalized, you did a lot of dialogue passes on that. That's typically what you do kind of in our process. How do you approach that?
So I think when it comes to writing, like you are really, really good at the description and structure, and that's where I lack a little bit. And so I try to make up for that by like really coming at the dialogue from the perspective of an actor, because when you're reading dialogue as an actor, you can kind of tell like, oh, I'm going to have to work a little harder to make this sound natural. Yeah. So when I'm writing dialogue, I'm kind of doing like a little improv scene to myself at my computer of like, well, what would I say? What's a funny, like, I'm just trying to think of like what I would actually do. What would I actually say? What would this character actually say? What's something funny? Okay, this is a funny thing that could be said, but how do I make it sound like it's coming from the character? Yeah. And so when I'm going through and just like trying to adjust dialogue, which I'll do like a lot. Like even on the day of, I'm changing up dialogue. I want it to sound as natural as possible while also being really funny.
Yeah. Do you have like a line you're proud of?
Yeah. I think my favorite line is, uh-oh, is that my work wife?
Yeah.
Is that a you line or a me line?
No, that was a you line. Yeah.
Okay. That's another thing about, we collaborate so intensely that is like, sometimes I'm afraid to take credit for something because I'm like, that could have just been Robert. I don't know if that was actually me.
Oh snap, is that my work wife?
What do you think it was originally that stood out to you, like after the episode, or even like while writing the script, that like, this is, out of all the projects, out of all the short film ideas we've done, like this is the one to make?
I really loved the idea of, like I said earlier, this is the first time that we've done something character driven. This is the first time we had more than just like one or two actors, and they're all bouncing off of each other. These wacky characters are at one dinner table and shenanigans are ensuing, and that was really attractive to me. That the idea that this is a short film where we have 4 distinct weirdos playing off of each other.
Yeah.
That was really cool to me. What about you?
I think what it was for me is, of course, we just stumbled into this because it's the podcast. So it's like we have a prompt and we have to do it. But what we ended up creating that I realized I don't think I've seen much of before is that it is a rom-com, like at the heart of it.
Yeah.
It's a rom-com. It's, maybe more capital com than most rom-coms out there, but it's still a rom-com, but it's not about 2 people meeting and falling in love, but rather it's about a couple staying in love, which I don't see that a whole lot, but it's a situation most people are in, because most people, they only like meet the love of their life once, but that's not where the story ends. There's like a whole bunch of other stuff that happens.
Yeah.
And I like that, like, this script explored that a little bit, because I don't think we see enough of that.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think about it that way. That is really interesting. Jumping a little bit ahead into the production, this was really more difficult in the editing or even in the shooting, because it's 4 characters at a table, which is notoriously one of the most difficult things to shoot.
Yeah. People don't realize it's just a lot of doing the same thing over and over and over again, because you have to get all these different takes. You have to get all these different angles for coverage, because depending on if person A is looking at person B or person C, there has to be a different angle for that. You want to punch in on important parts. It's a lot to keep track of, and I don't know why I'm this way. I feel like I am slightly dyslexic, but only for like my rights and lefts,
which is a thing. That is a thing.
Yeah, like I'm kind of directionally challenged just in that way, and so like trying to keep track of the 180-degree rule is a lot
difficult.
Yeah,
which luckily you did have a DP and an AD helping you out, but still, like, I mean, having to edit that too. And jumping character to character, and this person's talking to this person, but you can't break the 180 rule, and so you're having to jump to this angle. It sounds extremely difficult.
Yeah. And again, you touched on it. It was really helpful having Trevor, the DP, constantly thinking about that too. Also, Shama, our AD, was looking out for that. Filmmaking is very much a team effort, and so if you know your weaknesses going into it, you could get a team around you that could cover for that.
That is, it's all collaborative, and I think that's what makes it so much fun, because you don't have all the pressure on one's shoulders. Which, I mean, you did have a lot of pressure on your shoulders because you were the one running everything, but at least you didn't have to be alone.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not what it looks like.
I love you too, Craig.
See? They're kissing each other.
How could you?
I didn't.
I, for one, am appalled. Let's go.
No.
You seemed really excited about playing Donnie.
Yeah.
Because again, we were writing this. I remember when we were talking about it, I asked you, would you want to be Craig or Donnie? And you're like, oh, that guy. What?
I don't want to be Craig.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Well, and that's the thing. And I think that's this is something I was talking about with Shama recently. Was I think when we create stuff, we're creating it like the first time we ever wrote something together. That short, it was like, what do you want to direct, and what kind of character do I want to play? Let's write something like that. Yeah. And so this was the first time that I consider myself more of a character actor than like I'm not a romantic lead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I find it more difficult to be myself, because like the Craig character is just maybe a little too close to home for me. You know what I mean? Like, I am kind of an awkward guy. I don't like going out and doing things in public a whole lot. And so trying to act like myself in a character doesn't appeal to me as much as playing this obnoxious douchebag. I felt like this was really the first time that I've gotten to show like my ability as an actor, because we did Single with Fangs, and it's like that's almost like a Charlie Chaplin physical comedy, where I'm flopping around and I'm doing all these things, but the one scene where it's like a real emotional scene is when we're on that couch, and when we put that out, ever since I've been like, I don't know if I really like my performance there, and I didn't want to put myself in another position where I'm just doing that for the whole short.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Donnie character was super appealing because it's the biggest, wildest character in the short. And that's what I wanted to do.
Nice. That's fun. Yeah.
So what was so appealing about directing this? Was it the challenge of it being 4 people at a table?
Yeah, well, part of it is I've been writing some features that I hope that these features will be the ones that are like maybe the first or second ones I actually get to direct for real.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was looking at it, I think the combination of this short and then the next short that we're planning, even though they're so opposite, they both have elements that I want to be present in the first feature I do.
Mm-hmm.
And so for this one, it was an ensemble comedy. There are 4 characters that are all bouncing off each other. I like the challenge of reining all these actors in and giving them a space where they can play off of each other and creating comedy in that way. And then also, yeah, the challenge of I had never done the table conversation before.
Yeah.
And I'm a director that in the shorts I write, I try to avoid coverage as much as possible. I don't like it. I don't like shooting it, but it's a necessary thing sometimes. And so this was a chance to try to be creative within the coverage.
Yeah.
And then also like put your own like unique spin on a rom-com, which is like, you know, it has its own tropes and a lot of people could just live in the tropes, but like you have the opportunity to do a little new thing and it feels like a big choice.
I can honestly say that watching it, it's different than anything else I've seen, which is like interesting because it is like a romantic comedy, but there is just this unique vibe about it. And I don't know if it comes from the direction. I don't know if it comes from when we wrote it or if it's just the characters playing off each other, but it just feels entirely unique. And I don't know if that's a good, it could be a bad thing.
It could be, yeah.
It could be like, the reason it feels like nothing else is because it sucks, but
yeah,
no.
we can't talk ourselves up too much because it hasn't come out yet, but
Yeah, but like when I watch it, I do think it is unique.
yeah. Yeah, the combination of all those things and then our next short being a little to no dialogue, mostly coverage-less action.
Yeah.
Combine those two things, those are the 2 tones I want for the feature work I'm looking to do.
So it's almost like, look, I've done a short film where it's heavy dialogue, heavy coverage, heavy just sitting there in a diner, and then I've also done this more action-led, less dialogue, maybe a little bit more VFX driven. I'll throw that in there. Both really hard things, the table kind of coverage thing, and then the VFX things that we hope to do.
Although you are touching on something a lot of y'all might not realize, there are a lot of VFX shots in this short.
Way more than we wanted.
Yeah. It was one of those moments where we're transforming a space that isn't the type of restaurant that's portrayed in the film. It's like it's
a bar.
It's like
almost.
a bar brewery type place that we're shooting in, and we're turning it into a nice restaurant. There were some set elements that kept on falling down, and they were taking up a bunch of time to reset. So at some point, Shama, our AD, is the one who's in charge of keeping us on time. I told him that maybe I thought I could fix it in VFX. You never want to be the person that's like, we'll fix it in post. But when the clock is running down, you kind of have to make the decision, is this worth the time, or are you confident that you could fix it later? And we fixed it later, and it looks all right.
Well, no, I think it looks more than all right.
Yeah. Well, you get a huge benefit of people aren't looking for a C stand on the wall behind them. So if they aren't looking for it, they don't necessarily see it.
Now that you've listened to this, you can look for it. But another fun thing to look for in the background is one of the extras in the restaurant is Lois Haid, who was our last short film we did. She played the other lead. Single with Fangs. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. We got to have like our own little like Easter egg thing.
Exactly. That's actually, man, that's one of my biggest regrets of the short is I was so busy with other things, I didn't realize that Lois was sitting in on scenes that she wasn't seen in. And it was really hot in that room. We were all sweating so much.
Yeah, it was really, really hot.
Because again, man, no one tells you this in film school, but when you're shooting on location for audio, you got to turn the air off.
Yeah.
And you got like 15 people in an enclosed space.
And there's lights.
Yeah.
And there's oh man, dude. It was extremely hot. And I'm not the best at taking care of myself in those days when I'm trying to work and run around and make sure everybody's having a good time. It was like one time I almost passed out sitting up there, and I was like, I'll be back later. And I had to go sit downstairs for a while. It was so hot in there. But yeah, VFX, I think they work. I mean, it's just I think it's a famous saying where it's like filmmaking is just problem solving.
Yep.
And that's what you had to do all day as the director, is you were just trying to fix every problem that popped up. It's like, hey, putting this curtain back up has been taking us 30 minutes and we're not going to make our day. It's like, well, I'll just fix it in post. And then so now you have to figure out how you're going to go about that. And I even asked you, like, because I was like, how do you fix that in post? I was like, how do you do it? And you were like, I'll just do this, this, and this. And I was like, okay, if you seem so sure.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I could do anything in post after this one project we both worked on. Someone had something written on a shirt, a t-shirt, the day of filming. They decided they wanted something written on their shirt, and it was misspelled. And I had to physically like Photoshop switch the letters around and track it to a moving cloth.
And it was like the actor was sprinting in this commercial thing. And after I watched that, I was like, no, he can fix it. Because that's even what you told me. Is when I was like, are you sure you can do that? You were like, I'll just do the same thing I did for that thing. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. If you can do that, then you can do it. Yeah.
Do you have a moment on set or like a performance choice that you're really proud of?
I don't know. I think the thing I'm most proud of is a decision I made beforehand that I was going to chew gum.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really proud of it because I think it really makes the character what it is. Between that and then the shrill laugh that you wrote the dolphin laugh.
I did. Yeah. Oh wait, they haven't seen the script. It's described in the script as like a dolphin type laugh that
yeah, like a very like frat bro, like high tide, bro. And so between choosing to chew gum, which was I had to chomp on gum for 12 hours that day, which was a choice, and then picking that laugh, which the laugh was a combination of Johnny Depp and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the way, haha, you're weird, and Will Arnett in Hot Rod, which is what we based the character on.
Like, is it Will Arnett in Hot Rod?
Dude, that's exactly what I was about to say. So Donnie is played by Will Arnett, is basically what I'm saying.
But I realized very quickly after we wrote the script and it was time for me to start like figuring out this character, I was like, I can't be Will Arnett. I'm not Will Arnett. Exactly, my voice isn't that deep. I'm just not him. And so I was like, how do I make something that honors the Will Arnett character in Hot Rod while still making my own? And I was like, this weird dolphin laugh that Robert threw in the script. What is one thing on the set that you're like, I'm really proud of direction wise? Or even just because I mean, you did a ton of things. You did the set deck. You did.
Yeah. Honestly, there was a really simple direction that just like transformed this performance. But Matthew, during like the real dramatic part where he's telling Abby how much he loves her, he delivered the lines great. The performance was great, but it felt like just a little bit stiff. This was after the first take or whatever. But like you could tell that it was there. He was saying everything great. But then I just realized that I walked in and I told him to just do another take with like the same energy. Everything you're doing is great. Just when people remember something, they typically like kind of look up with their eyes. I think it's like up to the left or whatever. So it's like when you're saying this monologue about how much you love her, if you catch yourself thinking about a past with her, just look up like that. And that like completely added more life to it.
When we watched it today, I noticed that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what a great choice that he made. I didn't know that was the direction. That is a fantastic. Yeah, that's great, dude. That really did change that whole monologue. I can tell you the one thing I think you did that was like my favorite thing you did. I thought was amazing was you changed up some of the pacing from the first cut of the film that I saw to the next cut of the film that I saw. And I think that was just like, it transformed the whole thing. And I thought it was genius.
Oh yeah, which part are you talking about? Because there was a part in the script where in the middle section, Craig and Joy are in the bathroom, and then April and Donnie are in the restaurant. And those were initially like 2 scenes on their own. And sometimes when you get into the edit, you realize that like stuff drags on a little too long. So we actually cut a few lines and then we intercut both those scenes,
which was great.
Yeah.
The part I was talking about was the intercutting of the cyberpunk scenes during the bathroom scene with, I think it's me and Abby. I think. You're boring. Your boyfriend's boring. And then I think that changed the whole thing, and it made it 10 times better. We've been talking a lot of like the things we're proud of because we're very excited to have done this. We made this, and it's very exciting. But also, like, I think everybody's very like self-conscious and worried that it's not good. What was one thing on the day that you were like, oh no?
Man, I feel like it was this way for the entire cast, the entire crew, especially because a lot of people on crew I hadn't worked with before, and so they were just getting a vibe for me. Like that first time there, was everything felt really rushed. It looked like we weren't gonna make our day.
Yeah.
Which actually this shoot was the most on time
we had
this crew has ever been. But during the first half of the day, we really thought we were gonna run like 3 or 4 hours over, and then we ended up
on the minute.
Yeah,
on the minute. We wrapped on the minute, and yeah. So that was your biggest.
But the moment that was just a great morale boost for the crew and the cast, where I think all of us realized that this is going to be good, was the first scene where we had Gunner's character when he comes on and delivers those lines, and he was just so convincing and just so fun. Like all of us were fighting laughter hearing that for the first time. I hadn't shown any of the actors Gunner what he was going to look like, what he was going to sound like. Just wanted to catch their genuine reaction that first time, and he just like surprised all of us. He's just such a professional, just a great talent.
I told you this is
Who are you? Oh my. I'm the guy that's been in the bathroom.
That was amazing. I'm like, wow. So impressed by just one line. I was like,
when he showed up, I was like, you could probably see it in that first take when he walks up. In my face, you probably see it. I was just like, oh, this is what a professional looks like. I learned so much just from watching him do his one scene. Like I learned a ton just watching, like, as an actor, because like I watched, like he kept telling the makeup lady, he's like, no, I want more water. Like he was making choices. Yeah. He was making choices right there, right before he was about to go on, and then he like picked up a drink that was sitting on the table and drank the water and threw it down, and then he just started screaming his line. And man, what a pro! That's when because that whole day I was trying to be like, I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna make sure everybody's having a good time, and I'm gonna be super professional. I'm gonna try to, like this, I want it to be like my set, and I want everybody. I want to make sure I'm having fun and joking around, and everybody's laughing, and the other actors, because a lot of them hadn't done film stuff. I wanted them to be like, oh, Chase's just follow his way. So that's what I'm thinking, right? I'm like, I'm trying to make this like my set. I'm gonna do this, and then Gunner shows up, and I'm like, you're in charge. Like I learned a ton.
Yeah, no, we were really lucky to get him on board. He's such a great dude. He is also a director, for all y'all listening. He's got a short called Wages of Sin out, and he's got a lot of really exciting projects that hopefully you will be hearing about.
Yeah, he's
the
awesome.
next little
man.
bit.
He's great. So your big thing was like your biggest concern that day was just clicking with the crew and making time.
Yes, yeah, because there was so much coverage, and 7 pages for a 12-hour day is actually like a whole lot. I think professional film sets will do on average like 3 or 4 pages a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what was also in our favor is we really didn't have any, like we didn't change locations.
Yeah.
We were all in the one spot, and then we saved the last little bit of the day for the bathroom scenes, and we got through those quick.
Yeah, dude. Second day was really chill though, because we were just in the studio doing the cyberpunk. God, we just had to get some funny makeup, do some dances.
It was Robert, Shama, and myself, and then Abby and Matthew and Kara, and it was just all of us in the dark. A dog showed up at one point and jumped on the couch.
With every project, I always want there to be one moment where everybody just looks around. It's like, this is crazy. This is stupid. What are we doing?
That was
like,
that.
Yeah.
That was that for sure.
I don't want to do a project if we don't have a moment like that, you know?
Dude.
I feel like that's when you know you're making a bold choice. It could go either way. It could be good or bad, but it's you're doing something.
I think that's what we all thought when we looked at Matthew's makeup, and I saw my makeup, and Kara's really wasn't that crazy. If you know Kara, like,
oh man, that was the funniest thing. It was revealed that Kara had gone through a very brief, albeit
emo
but
phase.
an emo phase.
I
Yeah.
was like, this kind of just looks like Kara with green hair.
She also took the pants home.
Nice.
Like,
yeah, she
I
was.
like
Oh
those
yeah, she was
pants.
like, I'll wear these, and she was like, thank you. But yeah, when I saw what we were all wearing, I was like, I don't get it, but I trust Robert's gonna make it look good. Oh man. Oh, I can tell you the thing that concerned me the most on the day.
Oh, what?
On the first day, the scene, I call it the Godfather scene. That's what the crew kept calling it.
Oh yeah.
Where I'm sitting at the table and I'm delivering.
Yeah, it's just you and April alone, and it's
Yeah.
like flat on you.
I think we cut some lines from that scene, right?
Yeah.
It was originally a lot longer, and I say a lot of things, and we did like 3 or 4 takes, and I just wasn't feeling, like I felt like I wasn't getting it.
Yeah.
Like there was something off about it, and I didn't know how to explain it. And so like when I was talking to you after one of the takes, I was like, hey, are we getting it? Like, do we have it? Like, what do I need to do? I just felt like the whole day, all I could think about was like, I feel like I didn't, because it looks so cool.
Yeah.
It's like I lean up on the table and it looks sick. And I was like, I hope I didn't like fall flat in this really important moment. But in the edit, the way that it cuts back and forth with the other scene, I think that it worked out.
Honestly, I think what it was just a matter of we didn't even need that much dialogue in that part to begin with. And that's part of why making things is so important, is you could write all you want, but like until you're like on a film set shooting something, you don't really know if it's going to work or not. And that's just one of those things where
I say the exact same thing a few scenes later.
Yeah.
Pretty much word for word. And so
that's one of the biggest things you have to look out for as a writer, is just like not having people say the same thing twice. And as much as we're like laser focused looking for that before
We
you
didn't
finalize the
see it.
script, you still
until you took the lines out in the cut that I saw, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense that we don't need that.
There is an interview with David F. Sandberg, who he does the Shazam movies, but his first movie, his first feature, he was adapting a short he made. And he said that he was feeling really bad about the footage that they got, and he wasn't sure if the movie was good or not. He thought the movie was trash, and so he did an edit where he was just like, throughout this edit, I'm just trying to take out as much as I can, just so if I don't like this, at least like there is less movie at the end.
There's less that I don't like.
Yeah, but then after doing that take where he's just brutal cutting everything, it's a really good movie, and it
lights out, right?
Yeah, it's lights out, and it's just like, whatever the shortest version of the film is that gets across the stuff is usually the best version.
Yeah.
And again, that's just as you create more things, you learn to spot that stuff in the script phase a little earlier.
Yeah, for sure. I
Like,
mean,
the next one we do,
we'll see it.
cut
Yeah,
even less. Yeah,
that's why the next one we do will have barely any dialogue. we're going to cut all of it. What is one thing that you learned from this? Because that's we talk about all the time. We're learning.
Yeah.
And I think that we're great at learning. You know, like we're making stuff and we're constantly writing stuff and we're great at learning. So what is one thing that you learned from the whole production and editing and this short film? And
yeah, I think both with this being the step up in crew from this film for the last film was huge. We had
a lot of people.
Yeah, we had a lot more people. We had Trevor back, but I had an AD on this one. I didn't on the last one.
Game changer.
Yeah. I had a really good gaffer on this one. He was a last minute addition, but dude, Doug was an MVP.
Doug showed
on
up
this
and
one.
Doug showed out, bro.
Yeah. And we had Diana on makeup who also showed out.
Yeah, she's the best. Yeah.
And then also the nature of the film being an ensemble piece with a lot of characters. It was I just learned a lot about managing a bunch of different crew people and just letting them do their thing the best they could, just trying to oversee the overall vision and just give the little sandbox where everybody could just go crazy. I hadn't had much of an opportunity to really
play around.
Yeah, to not have to do so much myself, but just step back and just like let people do what they're good at. And I feel like that.
Yeah. That's a good one. Good answer. I feel like because this is like such a formal like thing, I should be like, thank you for coming. we've all been here for like an hour.
Yeah. Thank you for chilling with us already for the past hour and continuing to stay.
Ooh, me and I don't know if you guys know this. I was leaving my girlfriend's house the other day, and I think I told you about this. I was leaving my girlfriend's house the other day, and the Chick-fil-A car pulled up.
Oh my god!
Because her dad had ordered Chick-fil-A,
Yes,
and I saw Matthew walking up, and then I looked. I was like, "Oh, what's up, man?" And he just kind of stared at me.
Yeah. Yeah, work brain was still thinking about the chicken, the Lord's food, and then I was like, "This man, he looks familiar." It's Chase. It's Chase.
I was in my street clothes.
Jaeger bombers like flashed back in your head.
Exactly.
That's what they're called, right?
Jaeger bombs.
Jaeger bombs.
Yeah, you didn't see me like hair slicked back, tan orange makeup.
Gum chewing.
Oh yeah, gum chewing.
I'll come
So,
back to you.
we'll start with Matthew. How did you get involved in this project?
Ooh, I was just chilling at my apartment. I got a text from Abby. Bing. And it was just, we had been talking like earlier that morning. The conversation ended, and then it was like, 8 hours later, there's like, hey, are you free on this day? And I was like,
very ominous.
I think so. Why? What's up? She's like, oh, we're looking for someone for the short film that like I'm working on. I was like, immediately, hell yes. I texted my boss immediately. I was like, hey, I'm gonna need this day off of work before I even like submitted. Like, yeah, I could do it. It's great. So I was really excited.
And did you know Robert or Chase before?
No,
that?
I think I'd heard your names before because I was friends with Brian. And
Yeah, that's the
Brian
funny thing is you used to be roommates with a DP I work with a lot.
Yes,
Yeah.
Brian French. He lived at my
That's great.
house for a summer while he was doing like some freelance work here in South Carolina. But yeah, so after I texted Abby, I was like, yeah, I'm down. And then she sent me some names and I texted Brian. I was like, all right, these people, who are they like? And he's like, oh, they're chill. They're awesome. You should work with them. I was like, okay.
Had you done a lot of film acting before this?
So I had done some like student projects in like college, but the most like professional film acting, I done like background in Atlanta, done like Dear Evan Hansen, Spider-Man, Loki.
Wait, you were a Dear Evan
see him
Hansen? I
too.
knew about
You
Spider-Man.
see
I
his
didn't know about.
face like in these movies.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
I didn't know you were a Dear Evan Hansen. Hold on, let's
Listen,
stop.
Wait, which scene?
Yes. Listen, I was just booked as like a regular adult on one day, and then one of the 80s really liked me enough where the next day I got an email. They're like, hey, we had like 3 people in our core high school background drop out. We really like your energy. You want to join us for like a month? And I was like, sure. So yeah, I was just like any school scene in that movie, I am somewhere in that shot.
You're just hanging out with a 45-year-old high schooler.
Exactly.
So Ben Platt wasn't the only old high school student.
I know we're supposed to be talking about our movie, but did you like when you were
Segue.
sitting there in the hallway watching Ben Platt walk by? Were you like, "This is garbage"? Like he does not look.
No. Actually, I got in a little trouble on some days on set because my hair was the exact same length as him. And therefore, if it was days where he had close-ups, they would tell me I had to go like far out because I was like 4 or 5 inches on him, but they're like, if we're not thinking about your height, you guys look too similar, so you can't be in the shots. I was like, okay. But then days he wasn't there, they're like, let's bring you on forward. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
That's so funny. So, I think we've talked about this before, where it's like finding the actor for this character like was wild. Like we couldn't find someone, and then finally Abby was like, I found someone. And then you came in and you completely blew it out of the water.
Mhm.
It was like it was better than we could have hoped.
Thank
so
you.
what was your process from that text from Abby getting the script and then showing up on set? What was the time frame too? How long before?
I think the turnaround from like getting the text to filming for me was about 2.5 weeks.
Okay, so what was your process in that 2.5 weeks?
I'll be honest. One of the main things that helped me a lot was once I found out that Abby was the lead. I was like, okay, we've already worked together, and not only have we done shows together, like we've done callbacks together, and we just have really good like acting chemistry together. And also just as people, we like read each other really well, and we're very comfortable. So I was like, okay, I don't need to think too much of like the character because I know I'll be able to sit with Abby and we'll be able to just like bounce off of each other. That'll be fun. And then from there, it was just like getting the text of like, I've never been in a relationship. So it was just like trying to find like how to be romantic and what lines really were in that kind of motivation.
Realm, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think was like the biggest challenge for you on the day of shooting?
The day of, I think just the first shot of, oh, we're doing this, going from like, we're just chilling, getting our makeup done. And we go up, we're sitting, and like people are moving all around us. And then all of a sudden we're like, all right, let's set up this shot. It's going to be on Matthew. And I was like, oh, we're start with me. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. It's cool. And then within like, it felt like 10 seconds, we're like rolling. I was like, okay, cool. But then after that first take, I was just like, okay, no, this is the group. This is the vibe. I like it.
Just ride the wave.
Just ride the wave. Ride the wave.
It is a very different experience than theater because you have the gaffers, you have the grips, you have the AC, you have lights, you have people moving stands. They're like, hey, can you when you walk out, can you duck under this 1C stand? And it's a lot difficult. And it's also a lot more stop, start, as opposed to theater when you're kind of like, you'll do a whole scene. But in this one, it's like, we're doing one line.
Exactly. You're performing for like 15 seconds, but like over and over and over again versus like a show where like you're performing for 2 hours with maybe like a couple minutes of breaks here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's like the most challenging thing, I feel like, in my opinion, is like the way the energy like cuts off and you have to like recreate it over and over and over again. And we're like, this doesn't feel authentic anymore.
So how do you think you recreate the energy?
Oh, honestly, I feel like sometimes I'm successful at it and other times not. Just kind of depends on the take. But I mean, just going back to the basics, I guess, just like stepping back into your motivation and like connecting with your scene partner. It's like a weird adjustment though, getting used to hopping in and out of it so quickly. And then all the moving parts, I need more camera training, I feel like. But I'm just shocked. Is this like your first bigger
definitely
film?
like the most lines I've ever done in like any type of film.
Well,
for sure.
you were very, very natural at it, so it was really fun. I was very pleasantly surprised.
I had a fun time.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
good. It was really fun.
So jumping over to Abby, how did you get involved?
Well, we did a podcast episode on y'all's podcast. What's it called again?
Written by
Jesus. I follow you on Instagram. I just couldn't remember the name of it, I promise. And that was so fun. And after doing Okay, I promise I'm a real fan.
It was
just
like the
couldn't
oldest
remember the
gorilla
name.
joke of
Yeah, the oldest gorilla joke. Yeah.
Yeah, which was it was a blast. I really enjoyed it, and I like binged several episodes. And I went after I found. I told you guys after we finished. I was like, if you guys are ever turning these into short films, like let me know. And so then what? It was like maybe a month later.
Yeah.
I just got a text from Robert. He was like, hey, you want to play April? Here's the script. And I was like, yes, I do. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was fun.
But
And,
you've also worked with us a lot before the podcast too.
mhm.
You started working with Shama, and Robert directed. Your first thing was a comedy sketch called Breakup Press Conference that
Yes.
Robert directed.
That was in 2019.
Yeah.
Correct? In the fall. I remember, so Evan Hamlin texted me while I was on
Dear
like a
Evan Hamlin.
Dear Evan Hamlin. He texted me while I was in the middle of like practicing in the practice room for like piano class. And he was like, hey, they're looking for, some of my friends are looking for like a girl for this little short film. Here's the script. And then here's the name of their YouTube channel if you want to check them out. So then I watched like the homeschool like anthem thing that Shaman P did. And I was like, oh, these guys seem cool. Like this is a high quality video. Okay, I'll do it. And I'd never been on a film set before. And so I walk in and there's like people everywhere. And they had like this really legit camera that they used for like the Whitney Houston documentary. And I have like no idea what's going on. And I've like never done like multiple takes over and over again before. And like there's a huge group of people standing there watching me while I'm in the middle of like going through all these takes. And I'm meeting PD for the first time. And you're in the audience, which is really fun. And you're like directing. And I'm like, I don't know, like what? Like how to even like take direction for like film. It's like everything is my first time. And but it was really fun. And afterwards PD texted me. He was like, hey, so you're in. He was just like, you're in. We're gonna use you for more projects. And I was like, okay. That's great
It's
to
so
know.
funny you remember it that way. Because I remember like meeting you for the first time on that
Yeah.
shoot. And we had like maybe 20 or 30 minutes, just you, me, and PD running over lines.
Yeah.
And I could tell you're really good at it. So yeah.
I was faking my
You were
booty
acting?
off. Yeah, no, I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, yeah. Thankfully, I knew my lines pretty well because I like just memorized them as much as I could beforehand.
Actually, I remember I was consciously trying. I knew you were a theater major, so I was trying to remember how Amy Dunlap would do rehearsals
I
with
love
us and do the
Amy.
same thing.
She's awesome. No, you did a great job. It was so fun. That whole experience was great. And I can't believe it was so long ago now. Like it still feels like it yesterday. So
A long time. So we've worked with you a ton, and then we asked you to be a part of this, and then you kind of also were a major part of production, kind of pre-production, because we kept going to you and being like, we need someone to play Craig.
yeah.
And we were trying, and then that's how we found Matthew.
Ding.
So very integral part of pre-production as well.
I'm happy it all worked out.
So other than trying to help us find someone, what was your process from getting the script until the first day on set?
I'm mainly just getting off book, of course, like that's baby step number one, but then also channeling into that like relationship insecurity that causes all kinds of like, you know, acting in certain ways. And I've had multiple relationships at this point. So coming from a different place, but
I got you.
It's amazing what happens though when you're working with someone who just has like good natural instincts, because it was very easy to step into that with Matthew and was very comfortable also.
So you were drawing from like a very real experiences?
Yes and no. I would say just because the tone of this sketch was very comedic, I was able to take it at like a lighter level, I guess you could say.
Because it's not funny when it happens in real life.
Yeah, no, it's not. Definitely not.
When your boyfriend brings a different date, you're
like, who is this? But yeah, no, I've definitely never really been in that kind of situation before with like another woman being present. I've been cheated on before, but I've never had like another woman being like specifically present at that time. So that was interesting.
I shouldn't laugh, but I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
because it's like I've been cheated on before, but not while I was like in the room.
Yeah. Thankfully, they had the common decency not to do it. I was in the room.
We did do a rehearsal before the first day on set, which you were part of. Matthew was not a part of.
No.
You were still
Oh
trying to find.
yeah, I totally like blanked on remembering that. That was really fun.
That was really
with
fun.
Me, you, and Kara.
So was there any major changes you made from that day at the rehearsal that you were like, okay, this is what we did at the rehearsal. Maybe I should change it up for the actual day on set?
Yeah, no, I think I was coming like from a much more serious tone when we did that read through initially, and like working through the shots. It was a lot more serious. But then I was like, Abby, you can't just go your serious route. Like I tend to be more of a dramatic actor. So I was like, this is obviously a lot more like fun and lighthearted. So finding a way to like lean into the awkwardness of the energy and just, I don't know, be more playful with it. So
I think you did a really great job with being more playful, but also you are a very dramatic actor. And there's one part in the short, I don't know if the short's out by the time this comes out.
Yeah.
There's the part when Gunnar is yelling at you about how Matthew's character feels about you, and you've got like this little pout on your face, and it's just so precious, and you're like, oh my god. Have you guys ever seen Gilmore Girls?
I have not.
Yes, I know Rory.
The character Rory. That's how I felt. I was like, oh my god. It's but because you are playing the lead, you're playing the straight character, quote unquote, in all of these crazy characters at this dinner table. You have Kara's character who's like trying to actively steal your boyfriend, and she's crazy. And then you have my character who's, you know,
just
obviously
you.
insane. Yeah, just me. I wasn't acting. That's just me.
Channeling Kanye.
Yeah.
And then Matthew is also more a grounded character. But even then, it still is like we see him with his mohawk, and he is a little crazy. And so you are the more grounded character. How did that feel? Because I know if I was in your shoes, I would be wanting to like, it's like, oh, I want to be crazy too, but you can't.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's interesting. It's funny though, because I find like there are areas in which like if you're actually in the situation, it's going to be a lot heavier and like more stressful and like a lot more real, I guess you could say, the emotion that you're experiencing. But when you step into it and you're being like that serious kind of energy, but everything around you is really comedic in some ways it like amps up the comedy, like that zoom in where you can tell that it's like really impacting me in like this big moment. It makes it comedic, which is really fun. So in those moments where I was able to like step into that more like serious type drama and emotion, it kind of made it more fun, if anything. But yeah, finding that balance between the seriousness and the comedy was always fun. And I'm definitely still learning that, for sure. It's interesting watching yourself back. You're always like, oh man, I could have done this better and like that better and all the things. But overall, it was a fun time. So
yeah, we all do that.
It's always hard to watch.
And I gotta say, all of us hyping up each other makes, I don't know about you guys, it makes me feel a lot better. Cause like I do the same thing when we just watched it right before recording this. And I was definitely like, oh man, I don't know how I feel about this scene. And then y'all start laughing. I was like, okay, never mind. Other people really like it. That must be, I did a good job.
No, it was really fun.
So jumping into, this is for both of you to answer. We did 2 days on set. The first day was where we shot everything at the dinner table. And then the second day was when we were shooting all the cyberpunk emo goth cutaways. So what were some fun, like what was your favorite part about the first day and the second day? The second day was a lot more chill and we were all just kind of goofing off. But that first day too, it was like, what was some of the moments that you guys enjoyed the most?
Okay. I'll go day one. There was this moment where Abby and I, our characters, like we hold hands and we walk away. And like there was this long time of just trying to find the lighting on our hands and the focus or whatever.
Just holding hands for 30
hands.
minutes.
At some point we just like let go of hands and we just stood there. And then we just started swaying out of nowhere. Like there's no music, there's no nothing, but we both like started vibing off of each other and just like, okay, nothing's happening. And we just started swaying for like 30 seconds. And I just remember that being like a moment of like,
kindred spirit.
Kindred spirits vibing each other, but also just like having a fun time.
Aww.
And even though like that was towards like the end of the shoot day, and I was like, we might be tired, but we're still having a lot of fun. So I remember that.
Aww. That's so sweet. Gosh, first day, I would say definitely when Toilet Man. What's his real name?
Gunner.
Gunner. He's awesome. I cannot remember his real name for the life of me. I feel so bad. He's extremely talented. When he walked in on set and delivered that monologue,
that first time,
that was a game.
It was amazing. I was like, where did this person come from? Like, it really did feel the way that it's portrayed in the short when it's like, whoa, like what's happening? Like, it really did feel that way, even though I knew that he was coming, just because the energy that he brought, just the improv that he had. Because I mean, he was still like, you know, learning the lines and stuff like at certain moments, but it like gave him the freedom to just switch it up. And it was so funny. And I genuinely had to fight the urge to laugh so much when we were doing those shots. Yeah, it was a struggle. So that was probably my favorite from day one.
Dude, I have the clip of that first take because none of the actors had heard him perform or even seen him in costume before that first time. I was trying to catch y'all off guard. You can tell.
Wait, you have to show it to us because I want to see that so bad before we leave.
Yeah, just all of you are trying so hard. Well, your eyes get really wide when that first yell comes out, and then all you were just trying to like keep from laughing.
I want to see that so bad. I know I failed at that, but
that was a hilarious. Like, because even before he walked on camera, he was just like, "I need more sweat," and so Diana, the hair and makeup lady, was like drenching him in water. He's like, "No,
dousing.
more." It was just really funny. So the second day, we're in a different location. We're shooting in a studio, and we're shooting cyberpunk emo goth cutaways. You particularly had to be in the makeup chair for a while.
My stars. Diana did such an incredible job. I've tried straightening my hair before and putting things in it, and it's just so thick and curly, nothing happens. So when she's like, I'm going to try to put it up in a mohawk, my first thought was like,
good luck.
Good luck. Yeah, exactly. and then like, as soon as she's done, she's like, I got it done. And I was like, I wonder how this looks. I looked in like a little mirror and I was like, who, what?
Who is this person?
It's up and it's straight. Oh my God. Actually, when we were done shooting, I went to go see my mom just to freak her out. I was just like, hey, we finished filming. I didn't tell her what scene we were doing. I was like, we finished filming. Can I come say hi? She's like, sure. And like, I'd at least like, I'd taken off like the black stain, like lip and all that stuff. It was just the hair and like a little bit of the eyeshadow. And I just like came into her office and she's like, the film. You did that scene today? And I was like, yeah.
That's a strong choice of hair and makeup today, son.
After that, I mean, there was a concern of like, he doesn't look anything like the rest of it. So we were like, we have to figure out a way to make sure the audience knows that that's him.
I mean, it ended up the faces. You could still tell.
Yeah. It was a shock though, for sure. It was really, because I didn't even see it because I left to go. I think I left to go grab food because we'd finished my takes because I'm not in that scene. So I left to go grab like coffee and some stuff, but I was waiting because I was going to drive Kara home afterwards. So I didn't really see you guys in your full glory until just now when we watched it, and it was very entertaining. And I recognized it was you, but it took a second. I was like, whoa, who is this person? It's amazing.
Yeah, what were kind of some of your first impressions of the film? Because you just watched it for the first time as we're recording this.
Yeah. No, you said that you're not going to keep the background music that we just watched, or is it?
Yeah, it'll have the same tone, but
okay, gotcha.
It'll be different music.
It took on a whole different energy when that music was playing in the background. It was so different from what I expected. I don't even know how to describe it. Like that kind of style of
almost like the pace, almost like the music and the editing made it just this much faster and jovial and comedic thing than I thought. Because like you're doing it for that first day we shot for like 12 hours and you're doing it over and over again. It feels like a very long day. And then seeing that footage
so fast,
you're like, oh, okay.
What is happening?
Like, mad respect to you guys for being able to like see that in a long day and know like, oh, this will be like a fast thing that we can.
Yeah. And the like, just that posh kind of energy that brings such a like distinct comedic flavor into things. I was like, that's so fun. So I loved the choice of music for sure.
Yes.
Which I'm sure as it adjusts, I'm sure it'll still be great. But I don't know. I feel like I have a hard time just not critiquing myself the whole time. I first watch things back. I'm like,
sweating while y'all were watching it. So that's
it's very nicely put together. I'm excited to see it fully completed and everything with all the editing. But yeah, no, it was just fun. I did not realize how funny our like back and forth scenes were going to be between me and you, Chase. The way that it like cut and when it had us directly looking into the cameras.
That's what I was going to say next.
Yeah.
That's where like a good director comes into play because Robert's there on set as the director. He's looking at all things, but as the actors, we're sitting there. We kind of are picturing something different, like in the moment, because we're in that headspace, like in that scene that you're talking about. In that scene, it feels very serious.
Yeah.
It feels because you're ranting about something very serious, and I'm watching you, and I'm just like, and you don't realize until you're watching it cut back and forth that it's like, oh, this is hilarious because he obviously doesn't care what she's having to say.
Yeah, and it felt like breaking that fourth wall too, but then it makes perfect sense. Like watching the editing, I'm like, oh, that's so good job, Robert.
Good job.
You go. It's so fun. It's really.
And then I guess one last thing, and then we can kind of start wrapping up, is so another big change is in the script, which we all got, the cyberpunk emo goth stuff. Like it says,
it just kind of says like it flashes like memories.
And so when we were on set, and the first day you're not thinking about it at all, and then the second day we're in costume and we're doing this weird, ridiculous dances, and there's strobe lights and stuff like that, and you're kind of like, how is this going together? And then you see how Robert controlled the pacing of the whole story with these cutaways that are ridiculous. That adds a whole new element to. I guess my point was you don't really know as a performer what it's going to look like at the end.
How it's all going to come together.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a secret. I didn't tell any of you about the cyberpunk goth scenes.
Did you actually go through a cyberpunk?
No. So
I want to see those pictures.
So I'm not like a professional dancer, but I do dance. I do a lot of hip hop and stuff like that. And when I read the script, I got in the version of the script that was immediately like, cyberpunk goth and a lot of my stuff. And I was like, do I choreograph take it like I went to my apartment,
full dance routine.
I choreographed like knee slides, I choreographed turns, I choreographed some crump stuff, but then I love crump. But anyways, once we got on set and we were all talking about that same video of all those people under the bridge doing like the same those hand motions, like that's the vibe. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to perform my choreography right now. Let's just do the hand stuff.
I wish I had known.
I was like, do I say anything? I was like, no, wait, they're gonna just do like one long take of me doing choreography.
Opportunity. Oh my gosh. Way
gotta
to prepare
reshoot
though.
now.
A strong actor prepares.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
were very prepared.
Thank you so much.
Man, that's crazy. Because I'm glad you didn't. Because that would have been expected from me and Kara as well. A big thing that people say is like a lot of acting is just embarrassing yourself in front of people. And in a theater mindset, like a theater environment, it can feel like a little different because you're on a stage, you're elevated, you're over the audience, and you're like, you don't feel as embarrassed.
Yeah.
But when there's camera guys and there's just crew guys standing around and you have to do a cyberpunk goth dance, it can feel very you can feel very self-conscious. So did you guys feel that at all during the 2 days?
Yeah, there's some moments.
Just a couple here and there, not the overall experience. Definitely that first take of the day of just like, oh, we're acting, we're doing things together.
It's funny too. I feel like you can feel that a little bit too. Like in the first several takes, it's like, okay, we're a little bit like unsure of what we're doing, like what the tone is. But as that goes on, I feel like we capture the energy a little more. But maybe that's just I might have just been adjusting to the energy as well while I was watching.
The only other time that at first, like the first take was like a little what was when we switched to the bathroom scenes because it was a nice spacious bathroom compared to like most public settings, but still a confined space where it was just yourself, your scene partner, and then was it Trevor on camera?
Right in your face. Yeah.
Trevor was just, moving back and forth on you, and it was a much different experience of having a camera like a foot from your face and trying to deliver something to someone that's right there and being like, ignore what's over here. No one is moving over here. Trevor doesn't exist. Trevor's no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just getting pushed against a bathroom stall.
Yeah.
I want you.
Oh yeah, when we did that the first time, I was like, oh God, okay, cool. Now I know. It's good.
So for the listeners, there's a little trick I tried for the first time on this film to like alleviate the actors like being nervous on the first take. I saw this interview with a famous actor, and it's written in his contract that he won't do a movie unless they shoot the middle scenes first and then all the rest later.
Ooh.
And the thought process behind that is during the middle, when like a bunch of action stuff is happening, you don't have to have the character completely down, because most of the stuff is just like fight or flight instinct stuff. And it's the stuff at the beginning and the end that is really the character driven stuff. So if you wait to do that later, you've been in the groove of filming and you kind of have it
Feel
figured
more
out.
comfortable.
Oh my stars.
That's actually really smart. So yeah, I
That-
guess it just was my perception watching it back. I was like, oh, we're still capturing the energy. No.
that makes so
It's
much
just
sense
me picking up the
though.
energy.
Just
That-
shows you how much goes into the directing side of it. That you
Yeah.
don't
Yay,
think about when you're
Robert!
sitting. Not to keep bragging about Robert.
Let's keep bragging about
Okay.
Robert.
Yeah, no, let's go.
Well, my favorite thing about Robert. No,
Robert, your hair today just looks absolutely amazing.
Thank you. I put conditioner in it today.
Your boots, incredible.
Yeah, strong choice. Are those Docs?
Yes.
the Dr. Martens.
Very nice. Doc Martens.
Doctor.
Doctor.
What is
They're
this?
Dr.
PhD.
Insisting.
Okay. He didn't
Be
go to
called
school
by
for
his
all those years to be called Doc. Don't disrespect Martin.
Oh my gosh.
Is there like a I was about to say diploma. Is that what it's called? Diploma on the sole of
Robert
the
doesn't
shoes?
even have his diploma. His shoes got one before. All right. I'm good if you are,
I
man.
think that's good. Thank you all so much. And again,
Yes.
y'all did such a great job on this film. All three of you included
gotta
Chase.
Good job,
Also
Chase.
including Kara, who isn't
Jaeger
here.
bombs.
Yes.
Really proud of this cast and how y'all could work off of each other and push yourselves. It was really great.
Let's do it again sometime.
Do it again.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the behind the scenes look at Trouble Date.
Yeah, we have once again made a BTS podcast that is at least 10 times as long as the actual film.
Yeah. I haven't heard the conversations in over a year that we had. So I hope I don't come across
It's not
obnoxiously.
over a year. It's more like 6 months or something. We recorded that right after the final cut was done. So we had just finished the ADR sessions. That's kind of where we were at.
Oh, yeah. It feels like over a year.
I know, yeah. But
a long time ago.
yeah, we this is present day us talking. We
Yeah.
put it out a few days ago. Response has been really good. We appreciate all of y'all for watching and sharing that.
We started doing Written By for several reasons, to be better writers, to always be in practice, but a big thing was to grow a bit of an audience so that way when we put out short films, someone would watch them.
Yeah, and this is I've said it over and over, but it's the first full circle moment. We finally completed what the podcast was meant to do, and it's worked out.
Done
It's
good. Yeah, it's definitely, I think it's done the best out of any short film that we've done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
And
yeah,
it's turned out the best. Like
I'm really
I'm so proud of the work the cast and the crew and everyone did on that.
All of it was amazing. One of the comments, I don't know if you saw it, one of the comments on YouTube talking about, hey, let's not ignore the editing.
Yeah.
I was like, heck yeah, Robert getting some editing creds.
Yeah, we've created an audience of people that get it. you
Yeah,
know?
we Frankenstein monstered people who love us.
No, we've only attracted people that appreciate good film. That's
right.
also funny,
Yeah. I texted you when the short film first came out and everybody was liking everything on social media and watching it and everything. I was like, it's like just hooking an IV of serotonin straight into my veins.
Yeah. Man, that could be dangerous, but it felt good at the time.
Oh yeah, the come down was rough that evening, man. That was hard, man.
But man, I guess since we recorded the BTS episode, like essentially all we really ran into was it took a while to get the score done, and then it kind of worked out in a way because now we're putting the short film out when a lot of other stuff is coming out.
Yes.
So it's like there are even more eyes on us. So
That's true.
every once in a while it still works out.
Everything works out, man. And I think it was a success. I think. It's only been 2 or 3 days as of this recording that it's been out. I think it was a success.
Yeah. And we're so glad that you were all a part of that. And we can't wait to deliver the next short film based on an episode of this podcast.
Yeah, boy. We were supposed to have already filmed that.
Yeah, but we
wanted to take our time.
Yeah. We that's one thing is we used to do weekly updates on Trouble Date. We stopped doing them when we ran into so much like production stuff and everything. And that happens sometimes. We've also stopped doing the undeserted updates. And part of that's just because things happen. But every everything that has delayed this project is only gonna
Just to
make the
it
film better.
We could have rushed it and filmed it when we wanted to, but it wouldn't be.
We had that conversation, like talking about the serotonin boost.
Yeah.
We wanted to shoot something so bad, we almost did a rushed version of
And
Undeserted.
it would have been a big mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think both of our plan, I don't think we've ever said this on the air, is we want to do a trilogy of short films that we co-write and produce, and it's tied in with Written By. So we did Single with Fangs. Now we've released Troubled Date. We got one more.
Yeah.
One more in the trilogy.
Yeah. And after that's up in there, we might still do another Written By episode.
Yeah.
It all depends.
Know.
Yeah. But
right now we want that 3, and we want that third one. Like, we want it to be like Single with Fangs was our first one. Trouble Date is good.
Yeah, it's the intermediate one. But then this next one.
This one needs to be the biggest and best one we've done. And so we've been putting a ton of work into it, and it's taking a lot longer than we hoped. But
yeah, that's part of what's so weird about this release.
Yeah.
Coming so long after the final cut was done was we're already capable of so much more.
Yeah.
Like, you see the huge quality jump between Single with Fangs and Trouble Date.
Yeah.
We're about to have an equal, if not greater, jump from Trouble Date to
the
next one.
Yeah.
So,
hey, we're just super excited. Thank you guys so much for sticking along with the ride. I don't think we're going to do our usual end credits. I mean...
Yeah. All you really need to know is, again, if you've somehow disobeyed my orders and not watched Trouble Date before listening to this episode, Trouble Date, link in the description. It's on the YouTube channel. Go watch it. Watch it again, too.
Yeah. Watch it 3 times
Yeah.
and then send it to your mama. Let's close with this. My mom calls me last night.
Yeah.
I'm talking to her. I go, hey, did you see my thing? She goes, yeah. I shared it on Instagram. I was like, oh, thank you. And then she goes, I didn't share it on Facebook, though. And I was like, why not? She was like, it was a little risque.
It's risque.
And I was like, what? What was risque? And she couldn't give me a straight answer. And she was like, well, it's not risque for you. And I was like, what are you talking about? But so take that. That's how we're going to end this thing.
I bet she thought the cyber goth stuff was weird. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week with another great episode. I forget if it's a pitch or a bowl, but it's something.
It's a pitch?
No, it's a bowl.
Oh, because we got out of order. It's a bowl.
Oh, be voting on your favorite VeggieTales rival pitch. That's the only other traditional outro thing. We'll do.
Okay, yeah. Be voting. Man, we let this drown out way too long. See you guys.
All right, see you.